What's good, YouTube? Easy now, 1337 aka Snow here today with a sort of review of the film X-Men Days of Future Past. Now, I never really do reviews and stuff, but I'm a massive comic book nerd, and I went to watch this film last night with DPJ and a couple of our other friends. And if you haven't watched this film yet, even if you're not interested in comic books, go and watch this film. There's something for everyone. In my eyes, I'll tell you now, it was the perfect possible way they could do this storyline in a film adaptation, because in the original comic book thing, as I understand it, it was Kitty Pryde who went back in the past and done essentially what Wolverine does in this film. But obviously in the film there's no bigger star than Hugh Jackman, so they have to have him stage center as the person going back into the past. But all the characters that were there, Bishop, Scarlet Witch, Storm, etc., all those people who are in the film look like the characters, act like the characters. They're just absolutely badass. All the character depictions are perfect, like literally perfect as a film adaptation can be. So the storyline is essentially the future is ruled by Sentinels who are killing everyone, and they have to send someone back into the past to pre-warn themselves so that they can stop that from happening, stop Mystique or Raven Darkholme from killing Bolivar Trask. Bolivar Trask is the inventor of all the Sentinels. So if he's killed, they get the DNA of Mystique by capturing Mystique, because obviously she's there to kill Bolivar. When she kills Bolivar, other people capture her. They use her DNA to advance the Sentinels to be able to adapt to any situation, and then obviously they battle every mutant's powers, the opposite one, and then kill them. So they have to go back into the past to stop Raven from killing Bolivar Trask, so that doesn't happen, and the future that they have disappears. Now, for me and a friend, it was quite confusing. I'm probably going to be a little bit of spoilers here. In this film, you have Magneto and Xavier from the future, who are played by Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, and you have the past versions of those characters played by Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy. Now, in the film, Xavier as Patrick Stewart, how is he there? Because of the fact that he died in X-Men Last Stand, and these films do correlate with those X-Men films, and it didn't make sense to me at first until I got home and thought about it. But essentially what it is, it's like a Star Wars themed chronological order style types of films, because at the end of this film it resets itself back to before the original X-Men film, when Jean Grey was alive, Cyclops, etc. All those people were alive and in the Xavier School for Gifted Children. So we have Xavier and Magneto from the future, Xavier and Magneto from the past, and then in between those is like the X-Men thing, the X-Men films in chronological order. But this one where Xavier and Magneto are in the future is an alternative reality, because it's further on past when Xavier dies. So this is like an alternate reality, and when they go back in time to reset what's happened, it then puts them on the timeline that disappears and goes. It puts them on the timeline of the X-Men films. So it would be like X-Men First Class would be the first film at the moment, and then Days of Future Past if you're going in chronological order, and then it resets to X-Men, X-Men 2, X-Men Last Stand, and so on and so forth. But like, it's like a time circle, so it's really in-depth story in this for Days of Future Past, and as a comic book nerd, the story is paramount. And obviously they had to change little bits here and there because of the fact that it's a film adaptation, but they'd done the comic book justice. Like, it had a lot of integrity towards the comic book as well as adapting it to a film. And that's the worst thing for me, is when a film is made from a comic and they just completely fuck it up. I hate it. Like, I absolutely hate it. X-Men 2 was bearable. X-Men Last Stand for me was disgusting. I don't think it should have ever been a film. And it looks like they're taking it in a good direction, where they're going to go to the next film, which is X-Men Apocalypse, and introduce Channing Tatum as Gambit. So I believe it's going to just take off and just be amazing. But the best thing about this film was, for me, it was comedy and funny moments, but not overbearing. There was a lot of action in it, but not overbearing, and there was a big chunk of story. So it was all very well balanced between the three main things. So you had one of the best scenes in the entire film is near the start with Quicksilver, Now Quicksilver's helping break Magneto out of jail, out of the Pentagon, and they get in there and get him, and then there's Xavier, Magneto, Wolverine, and Quicksilver with them. Now all these agents converge on them and just start to fire their plastic weapons, and everything just goes into slow motion. Everything slows down really, really slowly. You see Logan's claws start to come out really slowly. You see the bullets traveling really slowly, and then you see Quicksilver standing there normal because he's traveling at such a fast speed. Everything else slows down, and you see him put like his earphones on and such things, and then you see him start to run around the room listening to music, like running up around the walls and like moving things slightly and making the people punch themselves, etc., etc. And it's really epic the way they've done it. It was so cool. And then essentially he saves everyone by moving the bullets out from hitting like Magneto or Charles or Wolverine. He moves them slightly out of the way, and then he takes out all the other people by having them take out themselves because he's traveling at such a fast speed. But the best bit for me was when they got into the elevator, and he's like, "You can control metal, can't you?" to Magneto. And then Magneto's like agrees, and then Quicksilver's like, "My mum used to know someone like that," and that Magneto is Quicksilver's dad. So it was pretty funny and a good nod to the comic and the family tree there. So in my opinion, the only thing that ruined it for me, the entire film, well, not ruined it for me, but you know, it was a bad point for me, was the future Sentinels. I think they look corny, they look cheap, they look too slim and slender. Like the effects they used to have them, like, because Iceman attacks one, and because they can adapt, the Sentinel turns his body on fire and attacks the Iceman. So the actual effects of them changing is badass, because the one uses the that woman's, I can't remember her name now, Emma Frost uses her diamond skin, and you see the Sentinel change into diamond, and it's fucking badass. But the actual look of the Sentinels from the future, I just did not like whatsoever. But that's neither here nor there. That's just an aesthetic thing. That's something that bothers me personally, but it would never bother anyone else. The Sentinels from the past, before they gain the ability to be superpowered and overpowered, etc., etc., to be able to change, them Sentinels, they look pretty good. I like the way they look at them, but it's not the original Sentinel that we know. I would have loved to them just include at least one Easter egg version of a Sentinel, like maybe one of his prototypes that you see in a lab, and it's the proper Sentinel that we know. That would have been amazing. But the whole film was just incredible. The special effects were just amazing. Like Magneto controlling all the Sentinels while carrying a fucking football stadium over the. It's just so good. For me, Magneto stole the film. Like it was Magneto at his worst, at his most evil, but he was just so powerful as well. Like on screen, all he would do is just like one movement like this, but he just owned the role so much that it just made me believe it was just happening for real instead of in a film. Charles was good in it as well. The younger Charles, James McAvoy. Bolivar Trask, Tyrion Lannister from Game of Thrones, was phenomenal. He's one of my favourite actors, Peter Dinklage, now, because I've seen him in Game of Thrones and this. I'm going to look up anything that he's in, I'm going to watch it, because I absolutely love him as a character. And he done the Bolivar Trask role pretty well, so I'm very happy of that. Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique was so fucking sexy and just so epic. So all the characters were just bang on perfect. All the action scenes and storyline very balanced. Comedy was balanced as well, not overbearing. Definitely worth going watching. If I had to give it a rating, I would probably say it's easily the best Marvel film out. I think it's up there with The Dark Knight Rises, with Batman and the Joker. I think it's on par with that. That's how good it is. It's going to be hard to be topped by any Marvel film. And with Guardians of the Galaxy coming out next, I think they're going to struggle to do anything anywhere near that X-Men film. But they've got good things coming. Like now that, and at the end of the film, there's a lot of cameo appearances, like the Jean Grey come back with her red hair, Cyclops, James Marsden come back, and Kelsey Grammer's Beast came back, because in the film, during the film, you see the young Nicholas Hoult version of the Beast, and then when the timeline resets, you see Kelsey Grammer's Beast walking down the thing, which was really cool, because I love Kelsey Grammer's Beast. I really love it. And Nicholas Holt's one's amazing as well, but I just love Kelsey Grammer's version. What I don't understand though is if they carry on this timeline now and not have Xavier die, because obviously Wolverine knows that Xavier dies in that timeline, so maybe he can change it, is where they would take the Beast, because there has to be a film using these characters, James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, because all these other actors are now too old to be those characters, like Magneto and Xavier. They're too, well, they're not too old to do, but you know, people like to see the younger generation coming through as actors, so I would like to see them use those characters again somehow and not just carry on with this timeline. And I would love to see, because Nicholas Holt's Beast is more convincing as a character, because Kelsey Grammer's is just made to look like Beast, but Nicholas Holt's one just looks fucking amazing, the way it transforms and stuff. So it's a mind fuck, and I can't wait to see where they take it with X-Men Apocalypse. I can't wait for Gambit to come into it. It's going to be epic. Gambit's my favourite X-Men character in history. He was my favourite comic book character of history until I started reading Deadpool. But yeah, epic film. Go and watch it. I'll give it a 9.9 out of 10, and that's just because I don't like the way the Sentinels look. So if they changed that, it would have been a 10 out of 10. Absolutely epic. Check it out if you haven't already. I hope you enjoyed this review. It's just me talking about something that I love, comic books and comic book films. Drop a like and a favourite if you enjoyed it. Peace out. Take care.